Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. So, in this lesson, we'll be analyzing the poem The Angel. Let me give you a brief idea before we move on with the details of this poem. So, this poem, The Angel, as the word suggests, it explores the idea of angels. So, angels are not only found in Islam, but they are found in many religions, especially all the Abrahamic religions, which include Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. So the idea of a guardian angel is a very old idea, and it has existed for thousands of years. And in all these beliefs, the Abrahamic religions which I'm talking about, angels are seen as spiritual beings from another world. So they are believed to carry out God's will, God's plan on earth, and act in a kind and protective way towards human beings. Okay, so it's about angels. So if I'm going to very briefly summarize the whole poem, because to make it easy, um, so this whole poem, it actually tells the story of a dream. And in the dream, the speaker is a young maiden queen who is protected by a guardian angel, and the angel stays with her and watches over her, but later he leaves her. So this makes her sad, and she becomes emotionally stronger and more hardened over time. By the way, when the angel leaves her, there is a little bit of reason which is coming from the speaker as well. Okay, na? So, so as the angel leaves, it makes her very sad, and but as a result, she becomes stronger and more hardened over the time. And as she grows up, she stops thinking about the gentle angel. So when the angel finally returns, it is too late because her youth has already passed and she is now old, and the time when she needed the angel's protection is actually gone. So this becomes a difference or contrast between innocence and experience. So the shift from innocence towards experience. So the meaning of the angel, it can also be understood in a broader way. It could many it's not only a dream. There can be a broader context to it as well. So it could represent a man going to war who believes he is fighting for a noble cause but becomes emotionally hardened as he faces the harsh reality of violence and conflict. So, ऐसा होता है ना, when we as kids we believe in something when we are kids, but as we grow up, we get uh, to understand the reality of that matter, and our beliefs change. Why? Because we have now become experienced. So the poem has a strong sense of sadness and loss, and even after the angel leaves for the last time, there is a feeling of longing for something pure or beautiful that could have existed, but it is now gone forever. So, with this, we will begin with the analysis of the first stanza. I dreamt a dream, what can it mean? And that I was a maiden queen guarded by an angel mild. Witless woe was never beguiled. Beguiled means यानी कि was never lured, enticed. Okay, and woe is sadness, witless यानी कि without any wisdom. Okay, so we're going to explain this in this stanza later on, as it is the last line of the stanza. So the poem explores the idea of dreams and the subconscious mind, where strange and unclear thoughts can appear. So the poem begins with the question, what can it mean? Which suggests that even the speaker does not fully understand the dream. It raises the idea of being visited by an angel in a dream and what that might symbolize. Acha ji, the word maiden is also important. Okay. So it usually refers to a young, unmarried, innocent girl. At that time, the poem, when it was written in 1794, innocence was strongly linked with this idea. With which idea? With the idea of being unmarried and innocent. So in the dream, the speaker is in a state of complete innocence, purity like a young queen, and she is protected by a guardian angel who represents purity and protection. Again, अच्छा जी, हम आ जाते हैं विटलेस वो वाले फ्रेज पे. ओके, सो दिस विटलेस वो कंटेन्स अ पर्सनल मेटाफर. Here, Blake compares the feeling वो or to a witless or a foolish person. जैसे हम कह सकते हैं ना, normally the people who tend to be sad all the time, they are actually foolish people. Okay ना. और in another word, some might say कि only foolish person becomes sad. The other people, they get experience out of it, and then they move on. So Blake is comparing the feeling of woe to a witless or a foolish person. So like a foolish person, the speaker was crying, the speaker was sad. Okay, na, even when she was guarded by an angel. So, but the angel cannot be fooled by sadness or foolishness and guards her innocence carefully. So, the narrative of the angel is a powerful allegory for the journey from childhood innocence to adult experience. So the maiden queen represents a state of protected youth where emotions might be expressed freely, even if not always genuinely. You remember this line, and you're going to understand the context of it in the second and the third stanza, rather in the second stanza. Okay, so emotions might be expressed freely in this youth, but it is not always genuine emotions, because you might have seen and experienced it yourself that in youth, in the teenagers, the reaction of the young people, it is quite exaggerated. When something bad happens, they become quite sad, and something good happens, and they become very happy, which isn't supposed to be the case. So those exaggerated feelings or emotions, they are not going to be genuine emotions. Okay, but tends to happen in youth. So angel symbolizes external guidance, protection, and perhaps an idealized version of innocence itself. Understood. So with this, we move on to the second stanza. And I wept both night and day, and he wiped my tears away, and I wept both day and night, and hid from him my heart's delight. So in the dream, the guardian angel stays with the speaker all the time, both day and night. Whenever there is any crying or sadness, the angel appears to comfort her. The word weeping does not only mean actual crying, it can also represent emotional pain and struggles in life. So, growing up is often difficult, and during hard times, it is comforting to feel protected and reassured by someone who cares. However, discomfort later becomes a problem for the dreamer. She begins to hide her true feelings from the angel. She keeps crying day and night, even when she is not truly sad, just so that the angel will stay with her. Now, remember the line which I asked you to keep in mind. Okay, it is connected with this. Okay, so in this way, her tears are not always real expressions of sadness, but they are a way to keep receiving comfort from the angel. So we talked about what? Genuine emotions. So in youth, the emotions are not always genuine. So over here, when she was receiving constant क्या कहते हैं support and comfort from the angel, so she started making up her emotions so that the angel stays with her constantly, and she keeps receiving comfort from the angel. Okay, but when the angel is going to understand this, the reaction of the angel would not be the same as the reaction of humans. Okay, so these lines help us understand the main conflict in the poem. Okay, the repetition of I wept both night and day, and then I wept both day and night. It suggests that the speaker's sadness is constant and maybe even exaggerated or acted out. And when the speaker says that they hid from him, yani कि from the angel, my heart's delight, it means that they are secretly hiding their true happiness. So this shows a kind of dishonesty and suggests that the speaker does not fully accept the innocence or care offered to them. Instead, they may be starting to develop their own identity, which involves keeping secrets. यानी कि ये वो वाला procedure शुरू हो गया when they have started to grow up. So this moment shows a shift from simple innocence to a complex and mature understanding of emotions. I hope you understood it. Third stanza. So he took his wings and fled. Then the morning blushed rosy red. I dried my tears and armed my fears with 10,000 shields and spears. So the angel is not fooled by the dreamer's false crying and realizes that he is being used only for comfort rather than genuine need. So he leaves. So this moment represents the dreamer growing up. As morning comes, the dream ends. So अब growth का maturity का time शुरू हो गया है and the dreamer is now left alone. Now he will have to experience the world alone. So now there is no need for false fears, but there are still real fears and difficulties in the world. Okay, without the angel's protection, they begin to defend themselves and prepare for challenges. So there is a common idea that the best way to overcome fear is to face it directly. For example, someone afraid of heights might try activities like skydiving. However, the dreamer does not respond in this way. Instead, she reacts by becoming defensive. Rather than crying or seeking comfort, she chooses to fight against anything she fears or dislikes. So, this attitude turns her into someone more cynical and guarded, as if she is always ready for conflict. So, the image of having 10,000 shields and spears suggests that she becomes extremely defensive and mistrustful of the world. And the last two lines of this stanza, कौन सी वाली भाई? I dried my tears and armed my fears with 10,000 shields and spears. They show that the speaker becomes more independent. Their fears do not disappear, but instead of being weak, they prepare themselves to face them. The idea of shields and spears suggests strength and readiness. The rosy red morning after the angel leaves, it represents a new beginning. Dream खत्म हो गई है, new beginning शुरू हो गई, या फिर childhood या फिर innocence का time has ended and the time of experience has begun. Okay, so this rosy red morning, once the angel leaves, it represents a new beginning where the speaker starts to rely on themselves, experience के ऊपर. With this, we move on to the fourth stanza, which is the last stanza of the poem. Soon my angel came again, I was armed, he came in vain, for the time of youth was fled and gray hairs were on my head. Okay, so the angel returns to the dreamer, but by then it is too late. The dreamer has already grown up and formed her own way of thinking, and it cannot be changed anymore, and no longer needs help or protection from the angel. So the maiden queen has now become an independent one and no longer responds to the angel in the same way as she used to respond to him before. So why? Because she is now confident and she is self-reliant now. So the idea that she is now old enough to have gray hair shows that a long time has passed and the speaker has gained wisdom through experience. The poem suggests that growing up means becoming independent and not needing constant protection from others. So, in conclusion, this poem offers a tender yet insightful look at the complexities of human emotion and growth. It is a poem that resonates with anyone who has navigated the transition from youthful dependence to mature independence. Anyone who has already gone through this transition, for that person to understand this poem is very easy. With this, we move on to the themes of this poem. There is only one theme in this poem, contrast between innocence and experience. So the angel, it shows a strong contrast between innocence and experience. In many ways, the poem reflects how people lose childhood beliefs as they grow up. So we all have angels in symbolic sense. Things we once believed in as children, but no longer we accept them as adults. So, as children, we understand and react to the world differently, but growing up changes how we think and see reality. In the poem, the angel does not comfort the speaker's fears, which can be compared to moments in childhood when our beliefs are corrected by reality once we grow up. For example, children eventually learn that figures like Santa Claus, they are not real. and that some childhood ideas are based on imagination. So, although these are simple examples, they help explain the poem's meaning. As we grow older, our beliefs are slowly replaced by reality. This process makes us more practical and less innocent, strengthening our understanding of the world, but also making us less trusting or imaginative. Okay, with this, we move on to the literary devices present in this poem. The first one is imagery. So, the vivid descriptions they engage the reader's senses and they create a clear picture of the speaker's emotional state and surroundings. For example, guarded by an angel mild, he wiped my tears away. The morning blushed rosy red. All these images they evoke feelings of comfort या फिर sorrow and new beginnings. जैसे कि guarded by an angel है, they are evoking the feelings of comfort. He wiped my tears away, feelings of sorrow, and the morning blushed rosy red. These are the images which evoke the feelings of or the idea of new beginning. Okay, with this we move on to the metaphor. So the entire narrative functions as a powerful metaphor for the human journey from dependence to independence. देखो यही इसका main idea है, the shift, the transition from innocence to experience. So the angel represents divine guidance, protection, or the idealized state of innocence. The shields and spears are a metaphor for the speaker's newfound self-reliance, courage, and ability to face the world without external aid. Okay, understood? With this, we move on to symbolism. The key elements in the poem carry symbolic weight. Just like the angel, it symbolizes innocence and protection. इसी तरीके से the maiden coin, they symbolize youthful purity and a privileged and sheltered existence. Okay, gray hair, they symbolize maturity, wisdom, and passage of time. The act of weeping, particularly when it is coupled with hidden delight, it symbolizes the complex and sometimes contradictory nature of human emotions. So her key factor is carrying an idea with it. Now, rhetorical question. The opening line, I dreamt a dream, what can it mean? Immediately draws the reader into the speaker's contemplation and the mysterious nature of the dream, inviting contemplation without expecting a direct answer. Okay, ji. The next literary device is anaphora. The repetition of and at the beginning of several lines, particularly in the second stanza. ओके, जैसे कि ये रहा एंड आई वेट बोथ नाइट एंड ही एंड आई ओके. सो ये जो सारे हैं दे emphasize the cyclical nature of the speaker's actions and the angel's consistent presence. There also is assonance present over here. Okay, assonance क्या होता है? The repetition of vowel sound. Okay, so the repetition of vowel sounds within close proximity, what does it do? It creates a musical flow. For example, long E sound in I dreamt a dream. What can it mean? And that I was a maiden queen. So the long E sounds हैं ये क्या है? Vowel sounds. So what do? They enhance the dream-like quality and the lyrical rhythm of the poem. इसी तरीके से there is consonance over here, the repetition of consonant sounds, okay ना? Not only in the beginning but in the middle, in the end of the words as well. तो क्या होगा? जैसे कि S sound ले लो आप, with 10,000 shields and spears adds weight. What do? They add weight, okay na, and emphasis to the speaker's resolve and preparedness. Ready hai bhai hum. Okay, then you will find enjambment over here as well. I dried my tears and armed my fears when 10,000 shields and ये देखो, ये देखो, and arm my fears, there is no pause over here. So this is what? This is enjambment. Okay. So this creates a fluid reading experience, यानी कि बगैर रुके चल रहा है. So this technique reinforces the swift and decisive shift in the speaker's character from vulnerability to strength, from innocence to experience. Okay, so I hope you have understood the poem. अब जरा एक छोटा सा हम एक उसमें देख लेते हैं कि what does the angel symbolize? The angel symbolizes innocence, purity, and protection. And in Christianity, angels are depicted as क्या कहते हैं, as mediators, okay ना, between God and humankind. अच्छा जी, why is he talking about angels? So when Blake was around 9 years old, he had a vision of angels. He saw that he was walking through the countryside and suddenly encountered a tree filled with angels. Okay, so from early childhood, he had a fascination with these extraordinary creatures. Okay, so थोड़ा सा पोएम के बारे में बात कर लेते हैं. That it is a lyrical poem and it consists of 4 rhyming quatrains. Each quatrain contains a set of 2 rhyming couplets. Okay, so the rhyme scheme throughout is a consistent double A double B pattern, creating a musicality that enhances the dream-like atmosphere and the gentle rhythm of narrative. थोड़ा सा हिस्टोरिकल कॉन्टेक्स्ट देख लेते हैं इस पोएम का. देखो, ये बात तो क्लियर है और आप लोगों को पता भी होनी चाहिए दैट विलियम ब्लेक पब्लिश द एंजल एज अ पार्ट ऑफ कलेक्शन ऑफ सॉन्ग्स ऑफ इनोसेंस एंड एक्सपीरियंस. तो ये जो 2 पार्ट्स हैं ना, दे वर फर्स्ट पब्लिश सेपरेटली. सॉन्ग्स ऑफ इनोसेंस पब्लिश हुआ 1789 में एंड सॉन्ग्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस पब्लिश हुआ 1794 में. But later they were combined into one book, which was called Songs of Innocence and Experience. मकसद क्या था इस एक कॉम्बिनेशन का? It was showing two contrary states of human soul. ओके ना? सो द आइडिया ऑफ इनोसेंस एंड एक्सपीरियंस, ये हैं टू कॉन्ट्ररी स्टेट्स ऑफ ह्यूमन सोल. या तो वो एक्सपीरियंस होगा या वो इनोसेंट होगा. ओके, सो यही जो बेसिक आइडिया है कॉन्ट्ररी स्टेट्स ऑफ ह्यूमन सोल, यही जो आइडिया ऑफ इनोसेंट एक्सपीरियंस है, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन द पोयम द एंजल. जैसे कि हमने बात की थी कि बेसिक आइडिया क्या था, शिफ्ट था फ्रॉम इनोसेंस टू एक्सपीरियंस. So in these poems, Blake often explores themes such as the loss of childhood innocence, disappointment in life, and the corruption of human society. Okay, so his work was also influenced by historical events at the time, especially the French Revolution. So Blake initially supported the revolution because he hoped that it would bring freedom and positive change. However, he became disappointed when it turned violent during the reign of terror, which caused many deaths. ओके ना, ये आपने बुक्स में भी पढ़ा होगा, रेन ऑफ टेरर अपनी हिस्ट्री की बुक्स में भी पढ़ा होगा. So, along with this, Blake was also disappointed with many aspects of the society, including organized religion and Enlightenment thinking. So, these experiences influenced his poetry, making it deeper and more reflected and often darker in tone. What is the message of the angel? So, it is a powerful and meaningful poem about the common experience of growing up, shift, transition. So it clearly shows the change from being innocent and protected to becoming confident and independent. So the poem also shows that human emotions are not always simple and people may hide their true feelings. Through its simple style, strong images, and deep meaning, the poem makes us think about protection, the importance of growing up, and the inner strength we gain as we become mature and independent. Okay, so with this, we end this poem and this lesson. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Jazakallah. Allah Hafiz.